Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikhov. Russian heavy card, by the way, today, guys.
Yes, very
Um,
much.
Randy Brown, he's a sub seeker, stands tall and eats it with his chin. He's not one of the guys that kind of stays down like this. Stands up straight with his chin out. Open to calf kicks. We saw that. I forget who I was watching. One of his fights. I think it was Arnold Allen,
Was it?
maybe.
Let me see if he's fought Allen,
It
because
was
I was thinking Jack Della Maddalena.
it was one of the guys that we've done before. I can't remember who it was, but I mean, he was just destroyed him with calf kicks, and like to the point that he was having a hard time standing at the end. He's
Let's see.
he's not good or smart on his back either. I just like you were talking about McCann, rolling the wrong way, and that is absolutely something that if you do it, it can end the fight. You could roll the wrong way, and then once they get that latched up, it's over. Got great head movement, so he's going to be hard to strike. He baits opponents, so he's going to pretend like he's phased, or he's going to pretend like he's gassed. And then when you go up for the kill, that's when he gets you. He gets gassed, though. He does get gassed.
Right.
At the very end of the fight that I was watching, I mean, the dude wasn't doing anything anymore. Poor defense, too. I don't think the guy, strike defense, I don't think is very good. And then looking at Salikhov, dude has lightning fast kicks. Like his 360 kicks are unreal. Dude's smooth as butter. He makes opponents look like what I felt like they're in slow motion. The way he just catches their legs when they go for kicks, or just his transitions and defense is just so good and so fast. Either he's predicting it, he's one step ahead of them, or he's just really that fast at processing. Great body control. Also, if he gets you down, he's going to actually stay on top of you and make you work for it. Salikhov, pretty big underdog. Pretty big age difference. He's almost 40 where Randy Brown's 33. 8-inch reach advantage for Brown, too. Brown's the heavy favorite. Everything's pointing to Brown, but just what I saw, I'm going with Salikhov. I'm going Salikhov either through the decision or the KO.
I agree on this one 100%. And it's another one of those things. I'm going to keep coming back to it, not to sound like a broken record, but you feel led into a trap because you think you know what's going to happen.
Right.
And sometimes it doesn't always work out that way type thing. But I like to affectionately call this fight the battle of unmet expectation. Because here you have both guys who I vividly remember throughout my time of being a fan of the sport and following the UFC. Randy Brown, Muslim Salikhov, both in their own right, independently, at various times have been hailed as like just what this division needs, like the next big thing in the division. And you know, as well as I do, and the other fans out there know, for just as many of those guys out there that are the next big thing, the next Connor, Khabib, whatever, DC, John Jones, there's just as many guys who unfortunately just don't meet that potential. And unfortunately, that's kind of the case with both Randy Brown and Muslim Salikhov. Neither one has really lived up to the hype that people have at various times generated for them. Randy Brown in particular sticks out in my memory because of the guy I got a man crush on, Jack Della Maddalena, like viciously, basically like finished the dude twice in one fight, like viciously laid him out with a right hand, like a straight right, I believe it was, that had him collapse, like comically. Like only James Vick collapses when he's knocked out more comically than Randy Brown in MMA. Because Randy Brown just hit the floor like a Star Wars AT-AT being taken down by like a Rebel snow speeder. And then you're like, oh, the fight should probably be called, but the ref's reading his grocery list. And so Jack, just like spider monkeys, takes the back, chokes him out. He's like, all right, you're not going to call the fight because the dude's knocked out. I'll choke him out too to boot. All in round one. Vicious loss. His last fight, he did win last June 2023 against Wellington Turman by unanimous decision, but that's not doing much for me. I'm not a believer in Wellington Turman. He's not a good fighter. I mean, you look at his record, he hasn't really beaten anybody, and I'm not trying to get too much into MMA math, but he just doesn't stand out to me to justify all the hype he's received. You know, Francisco Trinaldo, Chaos Williams, Jared Gooden, Cowboy Alex Oliveira, Worley Alvarez, Brian Barberina, but the guy has just also had vicious loss. Like Nico Price was the first guy to kind of turn him into a meme where that was like one of the rare, okay, Randy Brown has top position, dominant grappling, had Price in a very compromising position up against the fence, and Price knocks him out from bottom. Like, I think that was one of only 3 KO from bottom finishes in UFC history, let alone, you know, like the whole sport as a MMA in general. It's just something you don't see very often. He fell victim to it and stuff like that. It's just very concerning to me. And yeah, you're spot on about Muslim Salikhov. They don't call him the king of kung fu for no reason. That's literally his nickname.
Yeah.
But once again, unmet expectation. Why are you losing to strikes against Li Jingling? Li Jingling's a great gatekeeper, but he's not the upper echelons of the welterweight division. Why are you losing a unanimous decision to Nicholas Dalby? No hate towards these people, but they're not that top tier talent that you're billed to be. He's also beaten Francisco Trinaldo. That doesn't do it for me. Ricky Rainey doesn't do it for me. The guy has been in the UFC for a long time, but I mean, he's been in since 2017, but has had so many fights canceled that he's only actually fought in the UFC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. This would be his 10th fight since 2017. It's just not there. So it's tough, but owing to the fact I see time and time again from Nico Price, Jack Della Maddalena, et cetera, Randy Brown just get caught and finished in such outlandish Johnny Walker style ways. I'm really enjoying and agreeing with Salikhov at the money line of a plus 225. Randy Brown should not be as heavy of a favorite. I don't know if I'm going to call this my LL Cool J licking the lips pick, but it might end up being that way because I don't see how odds makers have this so drastically far apart. Minus 278 for Randy Brown is a bit ridiculous to me. This should be a way closer fight, just simply based off, unfortunately, how mediocre these two guys have been. It's not like one just drastically stands out over the other to this extreme of a position to have one as such a heavy favorite. And KO, TKO, DQ from Muslims plus 450, sub plus 2,000, decision plus 550. Once again, Randy Brown's prone to being finished in wild ways. I'm going to be in agreement with you. I like Muslim Salikhov by KO, TKO at a pretty juicy plus 450. We'll see if that ends up being the haymaker. It's looking tantalizing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just want to be safe at the money line plus 225, once again, odds makers, I'm a little confused on how so far apart it is. It's just not really computing with me right now based off everything I've seen from these two guys, their records, etc.
That's exactly what I think, Bobby. Like, you're looking at, when I watch the fight, I'm like, Salikhov just looks better. But if you just look at stats and you're like, wow, Randy Brown's so much younger. He's 4-1, whereas Muslim's 3-2. He's got that 8-inch reach. And then Muslim, his fighting style is Sanda, which isn't even Sambo. I didn't even know about. Sanda's like the Chinese version of Sambo. Everybody knows BJJ. Yeah. Everybody knows Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Randy Brown and then you see those odds, you're like, okay, that's easy. Like, I should just go Randy Brown. Whereas a lot of the times you'll see like a minus 600 favorite and stuff. They're like, oh wow, they feel like they're getting a value. Where I agree with you 100%. I feel like Salikhov's the pick.
Yeah, this isn't like one of those Bo Nickel fights where you're like, all right, I get it. I see why Bo Nickel's minus 600 because he's fighting the guy who's literally an arborist, who just last week was cutting down the M tree that had ash borers in your yard or something. And, now they pulled him out of like, Tom's Diner MMA to fight Bo Nickel to pump up his numbers. This isn't one of those situations. This is one of those where, experienced guys like Ben and I are kind of looking at it. And once again, I don't know if it's my LL Cool J pick, But we're definitely looking at it, giving it that little side eye, like, hey, come here, girl. Like, this is a little tantalizing what's going on here.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spots from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome, welcome to our podcast. Better in Green.